Welcome to the second part of Pong. This is Pong Part 2, and it assumes that you have watched both Pong Part 1A and Pong Part 1B. And this video picks up where Pong Part 1B left off. Okay, so just to make sure everything's working like we're expecting it to, I'm just going to go ahead and let this play. Let's see if I can think that's going to, yep, right there. And, oh, okay. All right, so this is moving the paddles. It does bounce off the paddles, the ball does. And once the ball goes off the screen, that's it. So the first thing I want to tackle on this particular one is that when the ball goes off the screen, the ball returns somewhere in the screen and picks up play again. Okay, so let's see. Want to take a look at the code for this. So there's code, and in this one, let's see. We're going to scroll down and go into our regular update. Okay, let's see. So each frame, we want to have, we want to see where the ball is, what's going on with the ball, and if it goes past one side or the other, then we will come back on that and respawn it after it goes off of the screen. Okay, so to take a look for the ball itself, this is where it's bouncing off the top or the bottom of the screen. And let's see, I believe between last video and this video, a suggestion had been made to me to be a little more descriptive with what these represented. So instead of just screen top, I now have screen top right, and instead of just screen bottom, I have screen bottom left. And I have to go back up and see that I did make those changes up towards the top. Okay, and so I also had to make the changes here. Screen top right equals, and we talked about that last time. Screen bottom left, same thing. So I did change those names per suggestion. All right, so now then, let's take a look and see. So what I want to do this time is check to see if the ball goes off the screen. So I'm going to say if, and I'm going to have this transform dot position dot, and this time it's left and right, not top and bottom, so I'm going to do dot x. And if that is greater than the right-hand side of the screen, and we had to do screen top right, screen bottom left last time so that we could convert pixels into Unity units. And so at this point now, position, transform position dot y, screen bottom dot y, screen top dot y. Okay, all of those are in Unity units. So if the current position of the ball, left and right, is greater than, and so this would be the right-hand side, so I'd say screen top right dot x. Okay, if that's true, then what I want to do is reposition the ball. Okay, so let's come in here and say if that is true, then I want to say transform dot position, let's see, dot, and in this, let's see for sure, what is it that I want to put right here? Transform position. Oh, on this one we set it to a new vector. I can use the same as I did down here direction. Well, that was a direction. I don't want to change the direction, but I do want to set a new position. And so that's going to be equal to a new vector 2, and I want to reset the position. Well, if I go 0f, comma 0f, that's going to reposition right into the middle of the screen. And if I went off the right, when the ball comes back to the center of the screen, it's going to be going right still. And so that may be a little too abrupt. We don't want to make this game too challenging. So I'm going to take and set the X value, not dead center, but I want it left of dead center. So I'm going to say, let's just say -4. F. And then end that with a semicolon. And then I want to do the same thing for the left, moving to the left. So I can't put both of these into one condition like I did with top and bottom. No, just got to do it in two separate ones here. So let's see, there's the original, and I'm just copying and pasting. But in this case, I want to know if it's off the left-hand side. So it's going to the left, that means it will be less than. And this would be screen, I don't want the top right. I'm on the left-hand side of the screen, so I want the bottom left. So let's put bottom left. And that's going to be .x, and that's the left-hand side. So if I have gone off the left-hand side, then when it comes back on, wherever I position it, it's still going to be moving left. So in this case, I want to move it to the right of dead center to give the person on the left a little bit more of a chance to see this. Okay, so if it goes off the right, it'll reposition on the left-hand side somewhat to the left and be moving to the right. If it goes off the left, it's going to position a little to the right middle of the screen and will be moving left. So let's save this. Then let's go back in and see what it looks like when the game plays. All right, so we've got the game up showing, and I'm going to do play again, and I'm going to let it go off the screen, and it should reposition. There it did. Okay, and now it's still just kind of shooting over to the right-hand side. So we do have to figure some spot that it needs to go to. And if it goes off that side, then it is heading towards the left. So yeah, we've got that working like we want it to work. Okay, so bounces off the paddle, fine, bounces off the paddle. If it goes off the screen to the left or right, it repositions and restarts. If it goes to the top or bottom, it bounces off the top and bottom. So the ball is behaving now as it should. What I would like to do now, though, is add a score to this and get a score showing up in here so I can see this person's score over here and this person's score over there. Okay, to do that, we're going to add text to the user interface. Okay, so I'm just going to come over here. Now this, well, yeah, I do want the text up there. Okay, but the question is, what am I going to put the text on? Now, if I select one of these, that's not really where the text belongs. Actually, there is a clear layer that's sitting on top of the game that's called the user interface, the UI. And if I just go and tell it to add a text, it's going to lay that down for me. Let me show you over here. Right, excuse me, in the hierarchy, I'm going to right-click, and one of the things that I can add down here in user interface is a text. Now, if I just click on text, it's going to add a couple of things in for me, okay? One of them is a canvas. The text has to be on the canvas. The canvas is this user interface. And it's kind of hard to see right now, but right now that is showing up dead middle, okay? Now, if I come look at, that's in the game view, okay? If I go to scene view, whoa, we don't see that anymore, okay? Well, one thing that you can do with this, I'm going to scroll out, and as I scroll out, you'll see that the user interface is sitting way up here, and it's very big, okay? So I can keep scrolling until I can see it, or I can just double click it, and that'll center it on the screen. And it's hard to tell, but way down here is what we see when we play the game. The user interface is just off to the side. It'll be resized and placed appropriately. Okay, so if I go back and look at game now, it's there. It's right there in the middle. Okay, so let's go change the text. And on this text down here, that's saying new text. Let's see if we can get something a little bit larger than that. Let's see what 20 does. It's still not enough. Let's try for 40. Oh, and it disappeared. What happens okay, well, that's not a recognizable size. Okay, so you got to come back and just try again. Okay, so let's see, 24 was good. Okay, let's try 30. Okay, not recognizable. 32, 36. Well, it would be nice if I could get one that worked. All right, so for right now, let me just take it back down to, what was it, 24? Okay, now let me try 25. Okay, that's buying it. 26, one step at a time. 27, 28. You could look it up and it would give you what it could work with. Let's see, 27 is going to be big enough that I would actually be able to read it. So I'm just going to leave that there. It's too small, I know it, but we'll worry about how to make it larger than that later. Right now we're just trying to get scores out here. Okay, so I'm going to change the text of that to say score, colon, space, and I'll start the score off at 0. Okay, so far so good. Let's see, font style, if I bold it, okay, it makes it a little more readable. Again, I know this is horrible, different video. Okay, so right now that's where this thing is located. Now remember though that in scene, there's our game way down there, and so you kind of just work with it here and it'll lay it out on top of the game. Now this little pedal, fan, whatever looking thing you want to call it, is where our text is centered around. Now I can get into this. Let's see, I've got text selected and I want to move it. So I can move it this far and then I can move it up and let it be about right there. That's very nice looking. Thank you very much. The problem is if this game plays on a machine with a different size window for it to play in, well, as the window gets large, let's say it gets as large as this whole area, that is still going to stay right where it is because this text that says score 0 is relative to this flower point, to this fan point. So no matter how big the screen gets, that's still going to stay that far away from the center. Well, that's not what we want. So one of the things we can do is, again, I have text selected, and I'm going to, where is it, right here, click on this, and notice this says middle center. Okay, that's talking about where that fan is located. And I don't want my score to be relative, that far away from the middle. I want it to always stay by the edge. So I'm going to change that point to be up here in the upper left. Now when the screen gets larger, this score will keep moving and stay just that far away from the top left corner all the time. Okay, so that's my score on the left, and that's the text for it. So I'm going to rename this one, and I'm going to rename it to be score left text, and that's a nice name for it, and it's as soon as I put it in there, so now I know what that is when I look at it. It's not just text, it's my score on the left, the text for it. Okay, so now then, for this canvas, let us add another user interface text, and I'm going to go through the same thing I did with the other one. For one thing, I want to, well, let me change this to score, so that is there. I want it to also be bold, and I think 27 was what I had as a max on that. And I also don't want it relative to the middle. I want it relative to the upper right-hand corner. So I'll come select upper right-hand corner. And now then let's move it into the upper right-hand corner. So that's text. I'm going to select the move. And from there I can move it over and I can move it up. And you just get it visually looking about right. Maybe a little further over because the text is not as wide as the field. Hopefully that looks about right. Okay. Now then, if I go back and look in game, there's score. Oh, I didn't get that one to say score 0, so let's go back and take a look at that. Oh, also it needs to say score right text. So let's change that to score, come on. Okay. Yeah, I was afraid of that. Okay, so score :space 0. And that's the right. Okay, that's showing right now. And I want to change the name of this field to score right text. Okay, so there we are. We have those scores. Now we need to be able to get to them. We need to be able to change them. All right, who keeps up with this? Who is responsible for knowing? Well, the ball doesn't really know what the score is. It only knows when somebody has scored. Okay, same thing, the paddles don't know who the score is. So we need something to handle high-level items such as the score. So we're going to create something called a game manager. And its whole purpose is to handle problems like this. So I'm going to come back over into the hierarchy. I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to create an empty game object. And when I click on it, it just adds it in as a game object that's empty, but I want this to be the game manager. So I'm going to change the name of this to be game manager. Okay, enter, we've got that. Now, for the game manager to handle the score, we're going to need some code. All right, so we're going to do game manager. Under the inspector, we're going to add a new script. Okay, and that new script, I'm going to call it game manager script. Okay. So now then I have a game manager script. And it would be nice to see how I'm going to deal with this. So let's go back into C# and take a look at that. Let me see if I can get C# up and running. There we go. All right. So now then I have a ball script, paddle left, paddle right. I should have a game manager script showing up here somewhere. Let's see. Where did it go? Okay, let me go back and look and try to relaunch this. Give me just a second here and let's see how this does. Okay, that's the game manager, and the game manager has script, and I would like to open that script. There we go. Okay, now then I've got it. Game manager. Okay, it's going to be working with the user interface. So one of the things that we're going to need to do is pull in another library here. And this is going to be Unity engine dot UI for user interface. Okay, that'll give us some more commands we can make use of here. Okay, so one of the things we need to do is have a variable for the scores. So I'm going to need a score left and I'm going to need a score right. Okay, so let's see what those are going to be. So I'm going to come in. I lost my view of my code. There it is. Okay, so up here at the top, I'm going to have, this will be an integer, and I'll call it score left, and that'll start off at 0. And I'm going to have an integer score right, and that's going to start off at 0. Okay, so that gives us a couple of variables that we can be working with. Now then, I need a variable to hold and manipulate the text on the user interface. So let's see, what I need to do is get to those game objects called score left text and score right text. Okay, so to do that, let me, right underneath here, do a, I'm going to do this one public on purpose. I'll show you what it does in a minute. and I'm going to call this a game object. So this is to be able to hold the address of a game object, and I'm going to call it with the lower s score left text, and for the right side I'm going to do the same thing, public, and it'll be a game object, and it's going to be score right text. Okay, oh, semicolon. Let's try that. All right, so far, so good. Okay, now then, what I need to do is be able to add one to the scores for the left. I need to be able to add one to the scores to the right, and I'll do that every time somebody scores. And then I need to be able to update these text fields with this. So in this particular case, I don't need a start or an update method here. Okay, I'm going to come in here and do let's see, this will be public, and I'm going to call it add one to left score, and I don't need to hand it anything. Let's see, and I think I have to give it a return value, and it's going to return nothing. See if that, yeah, that cheers it up a whole lot. Okay, and then I need the same thing again for the right hand side, so I'm just going to copy this and paste and change this one to right score. Okay, now, so if I'm adding one to the left score, I'm going to say score left, and I'm going to use this C++ notation that we can use in C#, and that just says add one to score left. I'm going to do the same thing over here, and this is going to be score right plus plus. Okay, and that will add one to right. Now everything is fine there except, well, I need to change the text field to have something other than what I've got starting with, which is score 0 and score left. So to do that, well, let's take a look at this public thing that I have done on this. So these are both, the line 10 and 11, those are both public. The problem is, while I've said this is a variable that can hold the address of a game object, I have not given this the address of the score left text game object. Same thing down here in the right, but I did make these public. So let me go back and look at my game now. Oh, let's see, I gotta save everything. If you don't save it, it doesn't count. Okay, and I check over here and make sure there's no red marks anywhere, so we're good. Okay, let me go back into the game then. And in the game, let's see if there's a little something different here. And if I will click on Game Manager, oh, there it is. Okay, I've got the Game Manager code that's up there. And if I also just click on Game Manager, this will show me the same thing, but not quite so much detail there. Notice score left text came from my code, which I said make that sucker public. When you make it public, this is what it does. It places that variable here. And the problem I have is I need to change or connect that variable to this game object. And I can do that by coming up here to score left text. I'm clicking and dragging, and I'm going to drag over here to score left text. And now then, using the Unity interface, I can affect my C# code. At this point now, my variable score left text is tied to score left text object. Okay, so let's go ahead and tie in score right text while we're at it, and let me show you what I'm doing. I did a click and drag on score right text. Okay, so now then that's how those two are tied. And if I go back and look at my code again, let's see, let me make that visible. Okay, if I go back and look at my code again, at this point, I don't have to use any kind of coding to say what this variable is tied to. All right, so now then, I can come into this. I have added 1 to my score left. I can come to that text field, which I'm calling with a lowercase score left text. Okay, now, going to leave that there for just a second, and I'm going to come back to my game and show you something that we're doing here. Okay, there's the game again. All right, now in that game, let me select score left text. All right, just like I could use this user interface to interact with my script, I can use the script to interact with this user interface. So here's the thing. The object is score left text. Here are its components. It has a tag, it has a layer, it has X and Y positions, it has all of this, which means in code I can go to score left text, tell it that I want to go to component text, and say in the text field of component text, let's change what's showing. Okay, so I'm going back into code again so that we can do that. That's the idea, is that I'm going to refer to this object and say I want to go down through the components, I want to find that component, and in that component I want to find that field, and I want to change that field. All right, so pulling code back up. To make that happen, okay, score left text, and if I do a dot, it gives me my list, okay? And one of them is get component. Okay, so the component that I want to obtain, there's some places you need double quotes, and I don't think it's here. Okay, text. All right, yeah, that allows that. And is it a dot or is it a parenthesis right there? I've got to do parentheses. I have to do parentheses right there. So I'm going to open and close parenthesis. And that says, okay, now then, I know that I'm at score left text object, and you are talking about the component text, and within that component text is a variable called text. And then what I want to do is set that variable called text equal to a new value. And I can do that just by simply saying, oh, lost it again. Oh, here I am. Okay, equal to, quote, score, colon, space, double quote, plus score left. And semicolon. Okay, and that's how I will change what appears on the screen. Now I need to do the same thing down here and add 1 to right. So I'm going to get a copy there, come down here and paste it, and change this to score right text, dot get component dot text, and within the component text, the field text, and I want to set that to SCORE colon space plus score right, which has been updated. Okay, so all I have to be able to do now is go to the game manager and say, game manager, I want to call add 1 to left score, and when I go to the game manager and tell it to do its add 1 to left score, then it will go through and alter the score on this. So I'm going to save this before I forget. Okay, so who was it that knew when the score had been done? That's the ball. Anytime the ball goes off the screen, it knows it's time to get a score. Okay, so I'm going to come up here, and we have to add to ball the ability to see the game manager. So I'm going to come in here and say public, because I'm going to use that little trick that we just did of going to the Unity screen and clicking and dragging to fill things in. So I'm going to say public, and this will be Game Manager Script. Okay, and I just call that GMS short here. Okay, now once I actually fill in what is the what's supposed to go in GMS, then I can actually just call that. And let's see, that's if it goes over. Okay, this is if it goes out off the right, I need to add a score to the left. So I'm going to come in here and say GMS dot add 1 to left score, and open and close. Okay, and down here I can do the same thing and say, okay, GMS dot add 1 to right score. And if you see me not typing, that's because it's popping up options for me and I'm just selecting those options. Okay, so when the ball goes off the right, it should add 1 to the left score. It goes to the game manager script to do that. And if the ball goes off the left, it adds 1 to the right score, and it does that by going to the game manager script. Okay, so let me save this one. And again, checking for little red marks. There's no red marks. Everything has been saved. So let's go back now and look at our Unity screen. Okay, and on our Unity screen, let me go to ball. And notice there's GMS. Now, I also notice that when it comes to this screen, all these are capitalized to start with, spaces are put in them. That's not what we did in script, that's just how it makes it look pretty here. So our GMS should be tied to our game manager, and let's see if it'll pull that off. Yes, it lets it go right in there. And notice not just the game manager, but you also pick up the script. Okay. Whew. Let's see how we're doing. I'm going to let this thing play. And I'm going to try to, okay, oh, look, score's going up over here. Every time that ball goes off the screen, the score's going up. Okay, let's let it go off the screen on this side, and notice the score over here is going up. So I've got to, somehow or other, there we go, try to stop that, and trying to work both of these at one time is not doing too well. But anyway, I'll let the score just start to run. And notice it over here, my scores are going up and up. Okay, so I'm going to stop this. I'm going to turn on an option that says go to full screen when you do this. And let's see if we are able to see that. Where maximize on play is right there. And if we do, then I want to go see what you're seeing. Okay, the text did not get any bigger. That is a problem, okay? But let's see, over here I'm at score 5, 6, 7. That's just going on up and up, so let me stop that. Ooh, looky there. There's a little bug in the code, isn't there? Okay, now then our score over on this other side is going up and up and up, so I need to put a stop to that as well, okay? And now then we actually have a game going with scores. Okay, that is adding scores. That is the user interface on this. We introduced Game Manager. For those of you that sat with me in class today, we also talked about a singleton pattern on this, which I have not included just because this video is too long as it is. Anyway, there we go. That is adding ball's ability to do scores and have scores that show up, and they are way too small. We will have to fix that on a later video. Thank you very much.